everybody. Welcome back to A Certain Point of View and our final Star Wars breakdown for the Star Wars tournament. Yes, I know.
That literally just hit me. I was like,
I know.
Wait, what?
The final Star Wars breakdown we have, at least for this year, because Christian did officially say it's coming back next year, which is cool. But we still have a couple tournaments to go this year, which is really, really fun. But for now, we are talking this incredible championship match between Andrew Dimalanta and Andres Cabrera. Obviously, by now, everyone knows what happened. It happened yesterday, and we are here to break it all down in just every possible detail we possibly can, because what a match it was. And we are not going to be alone on this one. As we posted on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff, we are going to be joined by Miss Mollie Damon over there. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us, as usual. It's glad to have you back on the channel.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm excited to talk about this match, man.
What a match to have you back on for, because this you played Dimalanta and ended up losing him, unfortunately. And so you definitely have a little bit of experience with being on the opposite side to him. And so talking this match is going to be quite the adventure, because my goodness, did we get a ridiculously great finals match that from the very beginning, you could just feel that there was something was going to happen. You knew right away something. It wasn't just going to be the Scrimshaw Dimalanta match where it was just, haymaker for haymaker back and forth. You felt the tension that something at some point was going to happen. And wow, did it.
And boy, did it.
It lived up to everything you could have asked for. There was no box unchecked. It was so good from the second it started to the second it ended. It was so fun to watch. So fun.
Yeah, because as much fun as the Scrimshaw match was, I don't know. I don't like watching perfect games.
Yeah,
it's not quite as fun. It's
in the words
impressive.
of Jill. In the words of Jill, you want that tea. You want the tea. You want the drama.
We need some of that drama. We need some of that stirring excitement. And this certainly checked every single box.
Also, he says happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Sean.
And he's taking a nice walk outside, so thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We're so nice to listen to as you're walking.
Hey, you're doing better than me in the exercise department, so I'll give you props.
Right, yeah, same here.
Brian, backs up, Brian.
It is very hot right now.
All right, so being the first 5-round match of the Star Wars tournament, right? First one we've had in a while in the Schmoedown period. We have a lot to talk about, and so we can get right into this. And it's funny because it wasn't what we were expecting, right? Ace ends up missing a question in round 1. He misses the Return of the Jedi question. Who says I have a really bad feeling about this in the movie? It kind of go back and forth, right? I know, Mollie, you had said C-3PO says it, but he doesn't say one of the words in the line, and it ends up being Han Solo as the answer. And then Dimalanta obviously gets the bonus question here. So he goes up 11-9 in the first round. And I don't know about you, but in my head, I'm thinking to myself, did the match just end? Did it just end in the first round within the first couple questions?
Yeah, my heart kind of sank a little bit when he missed that one. I was like, uh-oh. But it only got better from there.
I saw everyone in the chat, as soon as he missed it, everyone went, game over. And that's what's so crazy about Star Wars is you miss one question and it could essentially be game over. But this played out a tiny bit differently, and there was so many roller coaster twists and turns to this match. I feel like the entire match you didn't know what was going to happen. No. I think Dimalanta used a repeat on his first question.
Yes. Yep.
And then I was like, whoa. And then Ace missed a question, and then it was like this the entire.
It literally was.
The first one, I had to think about it for a second, so I don't blame him for the repeat. I was playing the scene in my head, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure it's arrogance, but might as well take your time.
My friend asked me, he was like, because I was at work, and so everyone was texting me what it was, and I was like, he gave me the question, I was like, it's not arrogance, because I think someone says that to Palpatine, and then he's like, oh no, it was arrogance, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. We'll go with that then.
Yeah, this was a full roller coaster of a match. Like, I mean, when I heard him go for the JT, I was like, on the first question, this is a 5-round match. Like, we're using one already, and then Ace missed one, but then Ace used one too, and I was just like, oh my god, this is gonna be an absolute wild ride the whole way through. Mm-hmm. Even though he's down by one, it was just gonna be a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So real quick, BC, I know you just commented on a few things. We will bring those back around as we get to those rounds that you brought up here. But let's go ahead and shift to the second round. And the easiest round to talk about here, because it was the easiest round. Both go 5 for 5, 10 points each. Dimalanta spins A New Hope, keeps it right away. Obviously, it looked like it was a strength of his. And Cabrera, and I know we talked about it in a side chat. Jill, you had made the point, but Ace ends up picking the Phantom Menace, and you were iffy on that before you had heard what he had done with the round. And because so far in the tournament, the Phantom Menace questions, they've been pretty difficult so far.
Those questions, in my opinion, the Phantom Menace questions have been the hardest questions asked in this tournament.
It's because they get asked every single match, and they have to keep getting new ones every time.
Exactly. And so
I want to know who's watched it 80 times for these questions.
Well, that's why I spun away from A New Hope, because they've asked so much from it. It's only the really deep cuts that are left. But yeah, he got another Padme question that was so similar to mine, where he had to like kind of think about the scene. Like, okay, well, that's vague.
The slavery question, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you saw when he answered it, he was like,
he was so iffy. He was so iffy on it. Yeah.
He definitely covered his base because he like stretched out every single. She said it was slavery on they just kept like going, and it's like,
he was like, "Is this it? This sounds weird," but you could totally tell he was playing the entire thing in his mind, and he wasn't confident in his answer. I feel like he was like, that slavery was still there, question mark. But I mean, he got it. So
yeah, because like Padme like mentions that a little bit as they're walking into town, but then she brings it up again in Watto's shop with Anakin. So like, I was like, oh god, what else do they talk about?
Well, god, yeah. But yeah, I was when you guys told me that he got Phantom Menace, at first I thought it was, did he have to take it? Was that his respin? And when you guys said no, he chose it, I went, respect. Respect.
Yeah, poor Jill had to get updates from us because she was were you even watching it?
No.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I only watched the last question. I happened to have like.
Well, if you're to watch one question, I mean.
But I watched, so I was completely blind. So I had you guys, I had my friends texting me, and I was like, "What is happening?" And so thank you for keeping me posted. But oh man, I'm sitting at work going, it was insane.
I can't believe they haven't gone super deep with any. I mean, they have a little bit, but I keep expecting more pod racer questions when they bring up episode 1.
Yeah,
I feel like there's been so many though. Maybe because now I just have a hateful relationship.
You have a vendetta against pod racing.
Damn it, Tund.
I would take episode 1 again if I had to.
I do love episode 1 though. Episode 1 is one of my favorites. But that was how they both went perfect. Is these people? I'm sure Mollie, you probably went perfect too. I don't.
Don't reveal secrets.
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
Maybe not.
Real quick before we get to that one comment that you just saw, Brian. Max has every prediction I made this tournament was wrong except Mollie's win.
Max is one of those friends who also kept me posted while I was at work.
Oh, so. What a nice person.
And then Sean stepped in. Tund?
Tund system.
And Brian here. This is something we definitely talk about. I posted it twice on our Twitter, but Winston is a Schmoedown treasure. He is everything you want from a fun, energetic, and positive manager. And it showed, it's kind of like been building, but it just kind of came to like the top of the mountain at this match. And it was so fun to see.
Yeah. Everyone who was rooting for Ace, and once Winston started dancing, like that was just what everyone who was rooting for Ace was feeling at the time.
Yes, exactly.
The managers
I wasn't saying I was rooting for Ace. I was just hoping that like it would be a good even match, and I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the managers are all so different, but like perfect in their own way. Like you have like Gucci's that like very thought out but silly. Winston just is always happy, fun. Shannon evil, but in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
burning Drew because there's no one there, so it's the complete opposite. But yeah, well, actually, there's someone there.
Well, there is someone there now.
Yeah,
that's official. Mr.
Forgot
Knapsack
about
himself.
That's
Sean, so here we go. Even with it being spun a few times, I'd still take the Phantom Menace.
Y'all
Same.
are crazy. Crazy.
Here we go. Winston and Ace work. They do. They definitely do.
So
And,
well.
I mean, he's 4-0. He's 4-0. So that's just absolutely crazy.
in Star Wars.
Star Wars.
In Star Wars,
Yeah.
in a tournament, not just in regular matches, but in a tournament, which is even crazier. But yeah, so it's interesting. I wanted to make a point here after round 2, though, because they looked like a little bit of different players, right? Ace to this point has he's looked so confident in his answers, right? He's answering so quickly. In the previous matches, he just seems like he's so locked in. But as we mentioned, he kind of seemed like he was questioning a few of them, and obviously the miss in round 1. Dimalanta, on the other hand, looked super confident. He looked like he was rolling. And so it felt very uneasy going into round 3, which is obviously the betting round. I don't know how you all felt about that at this point.
The betting round is tough. Like Alex, I know, isn't really a fan of it, but I was like, going into it, I was like, they both have to bet 3 points. Like, there's no other option in this tournament.
I agree. I 100% agree.
It's funny because Jake, you have been saying that whole time. They're both going to bet 3, and I was like, no, someone's going to try to do a sneak and da 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 da, and it was both 3, and I was like, well, that paid off quickly.
They had to, and I don't think, obviously, with Ace being down 2, he had no choice. He had no choice. I think that if someone else was in Dimalanta's position, if that person wasn't a cocky player, maybe someone like an Adam Witt, for example, or maybe, I don't know if you, Molly, if in the position itself, if they would have bet 3, but being Dimalanta, how he's been playing, the faction that he's in, the manager that he has, I had no doubt in my mind that both of them were going to vote or do 3 without a doubt.
Yeah, I probably would have done 3 just because I was like, at that point, I would have been like, screw it.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, exactly. I forget, like, what was the betting question?
It was to it was the Tobias Beckett
one?
question, which is the one we could talk about. In solo, what character says to Han, let me give you some advice. Assume everyone will betray you and they'll never be disappointed. The answer is Tobias Beckett. Now, this is an interesting thing here because Leo and Brian here, Andrew wrote Tabis, what Winston wasn't able to challenge on time. And funny enough, I actually have a picture of it, which we can put up on the screen here.
We brought receipts.
Yeah.
Just so we have it.
I was just about to say that.
Here we go. And you can't see it clear as day on the board. I don't know what the rules are, but I know that he's.
They didn't ask for first and last name, so I don't think.
And I know that he pronounced it correctly, which is obviously a big part of it as well. So, but it is something interesting. It's a completely different wrong spelling, even though he did pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, I felt bad for him for that one, but after the whole Tidarian mess and like people saying stuff in the chat, I know he wasn't looking at the chat, but I think hearing about any kind of drama surrounding spelling after that is like probably driving him nuts.
Yeah, I'm sure. But if they had challenged it, I don't think it would have. I don't think they would have.
Great one. That's awesome.
That's a good one.
Someone please make that into a shirt because I'll probably buy it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Sean's putting his word in.
That's fair.
I mean, I feel like he would have known, like, he knew the answer.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And if he would have challenged it, 99.9% would have lost it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know he knew the answer. What I was laughing at was when Winston went to challenge it and Harloff was like, no. He like shut it down. No challenge. Like it was like
done.
None of this crap this game. Like I was like,
we're not doing this again.
Right. So it's like you can see Winston just go, all right.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him.
It's funny because the last time that a challenge like that happened was with Winston. It seems to like Winston last time I tried a challenge was after the fact, and that's when it came up. And so Harloff probably in the back of his head's like, okay, he might be doing this at some point. He might do this at some point. He had to just shut it down as quick as he possibly could. But yeah, so at that point, it's still a 2-point game. He's up 24-22 on Ace, and we go into round 4 here. And this is where the speed round comes in. The very first time we've seen this new format in speed round. And I got to say on my end, before we get to like the answering the questions and how they did and everything, I thoroughly enjoy how the speed round is working. I really do. Obviously, it can be tweaked a little bit. Maybe just, find maybe like someone comes in and reads the questions who's prepared and not actually announcing the matches. I don't know. But for the first time it happening, it worked out really, really well. And it was just an even keeled round that just played out as smooth as it possibly could have.
Yeah, I really like the new format. It seemed a little bit easier to me than the buzzers, but I think that's just because it's not quite as frantic. But the buzzers are so finicky, this is way better.
Agreed, 100%.
I enjoyed this. Oh, sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Very good. No, go. I'm just saying I don't like the buzzers.
I was just going to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this way better. I sat with a piece of paper going, answered, didn't answer, skipped. And just so I could know what it was afterwards. I mean, whether or not I knew the answer was right or wrong, that's a whole different story. But I mean, I was sitting there I was like, oh, okay, no, he passed on that one. And then it comes back around. I mean, I've heard people complaining about Christian starting a second later or blah, 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 blah.
Are you talking about the counter in the corner?
I don't know if it's, I haven't really given it much.
Because I know that someone else is controlling the counter. And so they're clicking it and then he's trying to go off of the counter. So it's two different people running it.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing. It was the first time they've ever done it. So at the end of the day, it wasn't probably going to be perfect. We could have hoped that it would have been perfect. And, it sucks. If we go back and look and there was just a millisecond or something, it sucks. It really does. But it worked better than the buzzers and people were more engaged into it and it was more fun. I think now I will say one thing I heard on the Gucci verse that they were saying that I actually really was like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. Was they were saying that Christian should read the whole entire first question and then it starts like Family Feud, kind of like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or it should just be it should start in the middle of him asking the question, not before. Anytime after he asks the question.
Yeah, because I mean, people were comparing it to Family Feud, where it's the fast money round, then to Family Feud. The question,
funny enough.
Yeah, perfect. I watched that show.
Survey said.
The second he finishes
what do you know?
The question,
Survey said.
that would have been pretty. Yeah. The second he finishes reading it, then you start the clock.
I think one other thing that might be really important for this speed round is I think Christian should read these questions ahead of time and make sure he knows how to say every word.
Goddard said that they practiced 1 or 2 times before, but
I mean, I think they should have those questions ready and set aside, and Christian should practice saying them out loud, because if he fumbles, that's yeah.
What about the idea of bringing someone in to just read those?
This is what Ken and Alex were talking
Alex
about.
is like, I want to read.
Oh, really? Oh, I missed that portion because I was watching that, but I missed that portion. I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea because you could have someone who's announced before, right? Who's been on the desk with them before, just step in for that specific round. That way, Harloff and Ellis can just do their point total or whatever it may be, and that person can take a full day, hours, just practicing reading these. Because Ellis and Harloff, they're focused on so many different other things.
Yeah.
And then they have to speed round questions. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, it was the first time they've ever done it. And to be honest, it was, in my opinion, a success. I agree. I hope we never see the buzzers again. Like I liked it that much. Because Jake, we've seen the buzzers. Yeah, way better. We've seen the buzzers live, Jake, and you probably all have. But I know, really. We've seen the buzzers live.
As fans.
Yeah, as fans. And
I don't know. I've used the buzzers before.
yeah.
I mean,
sitting there with the buzzer just texting.
Alex has said before that he thinks that they're pretty finicky, and
They
even like will get brand new ones and put brand new batteries in them, and they still every once in a while it's like you're pressing it and it doesn't light up.
Culture, the buzzer.
Well, that's why you see all the competitors when they're doing it, they go like they're like, and it's like it's stressful. But this was, I don't know how they would be able to do this in a live event unless they get like some
slap
some sound.
Well, you could have someone on the production team just take him in a room and then watch him the entire time is the best way to do it, and probably the only way to do it, to be honest.
Yeah,
put some headphones on him or something or whatever.
Some type of loud noise canceling headphone music on and wheel him back out. Not wheel him. That sounds.
I thought this was so much fun.
I don't know why I said.
Yeah, wheel him into a closet and then wheel him out.
So you put him in a straight jacket, put some headphones on him. There you go. I will say,
as a fan watching it was so fun because you're sitting there, like Brian said, you're sitting there counting down all the questions that each player answered, and you're like going, "Oh my gosh!" And it was so much more fun than watching two people trying to see who has the fastest reflex to answer a question. I really, really hope they find a way to do this.
Bad time to eat dinner, bro. Bad time to eat dinner.
Oh my goodness.
Bad time.
Go back and watch it if you haven't.
I will say, on the flip side of this, and this is coming from a point that Bateman made. I think it was on SEN Live today, maybe. I will miss the buzzers if they go to this because there is a skill to the buzzer that isn't just answering questions, right? It's about, and he made the point of you have to tell yourself to click the button and be confident that you know the answer. Mm-hmm. This is just like answering a question and just trying to do it as fast as you can. So I will miss the buzzers to an extent because I do like the idea of you're taking a chance on clicking that buzzer, and if you don't know it, you miss a point, or you lose a point, which is something that this round doesn't do now. So it does. Yeah, you're correct. They're correct. But the whole buzzer thing, they are, very fragile and they don't always work. But I will miss the fact that some people take chances. Some people, like a Brendan Meyer, who just for some reason is really good at it. Yeah. And some people aren't so good at it. So I will miss that a little bit, but I do like this round a little bit more.
I was going to say, I don't know what just fell.
Oh no!
I was like, who sneezed? Which one? I didn't see anyone sneeze.
Sorry. What was I gonna say? So with the way that the speed run is now, are people going to be as willing to interrupt Christian reading out the question to pull out an answer, like we've seen, Whitwer do before? Just like hit that buzzer before the answer is even done. Yeah, true. People are definitely probably not going to be as tempted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jake, did you see the last comment that just came in?
I didn't hear said that. On SEN that might have the champion the choice in matches going forward. Speed. Oh, that could actually be pretty interesting. Yeah, that could be very interesting because obviously some like a Bateman would probably choose buzzers, right? I don't know what Alex would do in his championship match. I mean, it could. And we talked about this either on last show or something, but I like the idea of the champion having decisions on certain things in the match, right? It's giving them a little bit of an advantage because they are the champion, right? They have the belt, not just playing. It's not just choosing spinner's choice or opponent's choice on the wheel, but you give them a slight advantage in something to have the choice over something. And if it is the buzzers, I'm definitely okay with that.
Mm-hmm. I'd be in for that.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea, to be honest. It's kind of like that sports home field advantage. You kind of
exactly
get that little choice. I mean, I mean you could definitely see some of them going one way and some of them going the other way. Like Smets would probably use a buzzer because he's very quick with the buzzer, but maybe someone else might like speed round. So it does kind of give it a little bit of like, oh, what are they going to choose too for us fans to talk about and guess, right?
Mhm.
So
my heart was pounding the entire time.
Yeah, even though there was no buzzers involved, it was still just as intense
Yes.
as it was ever beforehand, because you have 60 seconds. The questions are being asked rapid fire. You have the pass ability, which they both did pass twice, and they both passed. I think it was the same questions, if I'm not mistaken. And they both missed the Han Solo question, how many movies he was in, or Harrison Ford, excuse me.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5, not 4, not 4.
Yeah.
So,
I know they literally both danced around the number in the middle, which was funny.
That one's tough because you got to remember episode 9.
Yeah, that's the one I was like, oh, right. He shows up for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, so they both get 6 points in the round. Dimalanta, after the point differential, after the adjustment, is up 30-28 going into round 5. And this is where it gets interesting, because Ace, being down, gets his first question first, which is in villains. And he gets a question that most Star Wars fans will get right away, but you could tell it was just an absolute brain fart. Maybe a little bit of a struggle after the speed round. He looked a little fry a little bit maybe, but it was what prequel was the first of the Zabrak species to appear in a Star Wars movie? Darth Maul, clearly the answer here, but just a full-on brain fart. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, oh man, the match is over.
Sean texted me
the match is
that
over.
happened, and he went, game over. And I went, did it really end? And he was like, no, Ace missed his 2. And I went, oh.
Yeah. And it's not something that you had expected from him out of everyone. He's been so clutch in round 3 the entire tournament. I was not expecting something like that to happen.
No. And especially with Darth Maul, it's his favorite character.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if he's talked about what was going through his mind when that happened, but I think he just, like you said, obviously a brain fart, but I think he heard Zabrak and maybe was thinking of a different species.
That's what I did, because I texted you two and was like, the hell, who is this? Because I thought it was Zeb's character, and I was like, who the heck? What? I was like, this is a
that's because Dathomir and Zabrak and it, definitely that specific area of Star Wars can probably get a little confusing. But I forgot you texted that, Brian. I forgot you were like, what the hell is that?
I was screaming, going, that is a 5-pointer. Like, who knows this? And I was like, once he said it, I went,
oh.
Either that, or I also thought maybe he was trying to think of, because there's a Zabrak Jedi on the council. I don't know if he's in episode 1 or not. I should probably know that. I've already forgotten everything about Star Wars.
What is the Star Wars?
What is Star Wars?
But maybe he was trying to think of that guy's name.
And that's kind of where my mindset is too. I think that he was, because with these Star Wars matches, you think of the most deep cut things ever. So I think in my mind, he was trying to dig deeper, and he just completely missed over the obvious of Darth Maul.
It was a trick question. It was a total trick question.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially for me.
I
don't know where I went, because it's not even close to species. But
what's interesting, because I feel like I got a question like, what species was Darth Maul in my match with Andrew, and I said Zabrak.
I think you're right, because I remember going, wait, they're not Dathomirian?
Wait, I remember Brian's point. Wait, that is right, because I remember Brian saying something to me about that.
Yeah.
I
was shocked.
Interesting.
That wasn't like near the top of his head, but it happens to everyone, honestly.
It does, and luckily, it didn't bite him in the rear end.
It would have been a don't ask Peter. It would have been a don't ask Peter moment.
Yes, exactly. It almost did, but yes, he gets his 3-point question. He gets planets and locations. The Endor question: what location in the original trilogy prompted C-3PO to remark, "I told you it was dangerous here." Ends up getting that. And Dimalanta has to go and get his 2-point questions. The Force Awakens question of the red arm for C-3PO.
I love that part of the movie.
yes, great part of that movie. But then we go back to Ace, and he gets the Phantom Menace question, and Phantom Menace just seems to be all over this match and all over the entire tournament. The Anakin Skywalker question about the control ship of the droids, and it was Vutun Pala, I want to say.
That was
I don't even,
that is
I don't
fine.
even remember.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Jake.
But I wrote it down because it's in the notes and everything. But that was his 5-pointer.
Never heard
A lot
of
of people saying that was a pretty difficult 5-pointer, but he answered it within again, a heartbeat. Once again, showing how deep his knowledge does go, putting Dimalanta in a corner here. But at this point, it still felt like it was a little bit of a stretch for him to win because of how good Dimalanta has been.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, what a great fight you put up, and wanted another awesome 5-pointer pull. But I was sure Dimalanta had the win.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
Vutan
Vutan
Pala.
Pala.
Yeah, that's how I spelled, but I didn't know how to pronounce it. Vutan Pala. There you
In
go.
my head, I was like, Droid Control Center. And then he said it, I was like, oh.
Now,
Okay.
That's one of those ships that I don't think I would have ever thought it had a name.
No.
Like there are so many other ships that do have names, but me and Alex looked at each other and we were like, that ship has a name?
Yeah, when I typed it into Google, I was like, the Phantom Menace droid control ship. It just gave me the ship number. It didn't give me an actual name. Then I had to type in ship's name for it actually to pop up, and I had to scroll 3 articles down to find it.
wow.
It's not something that's everywhere for people to find.
You
Yeah.
had to dig.
Yeah.
God.
Well,
Now-
it was
now-
easy to ace.
Has Ace missed any of his 5-pointers?
No.
I don't think
No.
so.
And he's all answered him within a heartbeat.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He knows some insane deep cuts. The last Jedi one, and now this one, man.
But yeah, so that gets to Mr. Dimalanta for his final 2 questions. The solo question: who voices Lady Proxima? And the answer is Linda Hunt. And then he gets the Return of the Jedi question. And what is the name of the droid that can be seen torturing a Gonk droid in Return of the Jedi? 8D8 is the answer. And this is where it got interesting because we were all messaging and we were saying, oh my God, he's faking it. He's pulling a Bateman. He's
Mhm.
pulling a Bateman right now. He's kind of stretching it out. He wants to kind of be in the moment, but then he doesn't even give an answer. He just kind of throws in the towel at the very end. I was shocked.
Yeah, he
He
did,
did
a
one
repeat.
repeat.
And then
Did a repeat. I could not believe it. I was in my car waiting for the baseball game to happen. I had my iPod out now, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this just really happened."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder if he had a guess in mind and just didn't want to say something that he thought might be wrong. But I was in complete shock.
Yeah. I was sitting there going, once Ace hit it, I was like, yeah, that was a good job. I mean, at least he didn't go out like that.
Mhm.
And then I heard Demon's category and I was like, droids. I was like, okay, well, that's not a movie
Mhm.
reference. So that might make it a little bit harder.
Mhm.
And then it was so specific. What is the name of this droid that's doing this? I was like, he knows it. I was like, there's no way. And then I saw how he was doing it and I was like, damn, he is just toying, just toying. And then he didn't answer, and I was like, no. I was like, that no.
We're all shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it. I even, like I said before, Christian even kind of looked like he was like,
Mhm.
Christian didn't
say
believe
the
it.
answer. Say the answer. Like,
Yeah.
you look like you know the answer. Say the answer. Your
Mhm.
time's gonna run out. And then it went out, and I was like, holy crap.
You could
And
tell
correct me-
Ace was shocked too. Ace was like, Ace thought Dimalanta had this,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Winston obviously, because we all saw Winston's reaction when this all happened.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this?
Yeah, that.
I had to.
Reaction.
I absolutely had to.
I love how you brought receipts today. I
Yeah.
But Winston was literally everybody's, whether you were rooting for Ace or if you were rooting for Dimalanta, everybody's reaction was Winston's. It was just
Yeah.
pure stun.
Shock.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It was incredible. Yeah. I don't even
Good
have
point right there.
Yeah, and Christian said that after,
Yeah.
and it's so.
Well,
it's-
and
go ahead. I know you're going to say exactly what I was
finish your
gonna
thought.
say, so go
No,
for it.
finish your thought. Finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, and this is probably what you were going to say, is she doesn't get talked about enough.
That's exactly, yeah. Her run is like, for some reason, just off in the distance. I don't know why. I said it yesterday. It's her run is my favorite Schmoedown run, period. Going 5-0, winning the belt in a live event up against a champion who had it for a while, beating Kalinowski, beating Rachel Cushing. Like, she had to dig deep. And in one of those matches, she was hurting, and it was an overtime fight against one of the greatest of all time. And I'm really glad Christian brought that up, because, I don't know if Ace's run is ever going to be compared to that if it's all said and done, but it's a great similarity that's happening a few years later, and one that should definitely be talked about as this kind of, we unfold to spectacular later on this year.
Yeah. And she's like, watching her play is so fun because she's just so calm.
Yeah.
She's just like, here's the answer. Next. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Queen.
It's just, when we had the ladies' night, she said, you don't hear anyone ever talk about my 5-0 run. And it's true. You don't. And as someone that came in like after that, I'd never really heard of it, other than maybe the one or two times Jake had mentioned it to me that, there's this competitor, Mara, and she's absolutely amazing, blah, blah, blah. But other than that, you never hear anything about it. And then now it's slowly starting to come out. Yes. Yeah. It really is. And it's something that needs to be spoken about more. And this is not a perfect timing, because Ace kind of just did his own little version of it. And it was very perfectly timed by Christian to say that. And
I went back and watched Ace's very first match today because I hadn't seen it with Parker. And I was just like, man, this kid went all the way through just cutting down people left and right. And I was like, this is insane.
Went from getting knocked out to going 4-0 in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Nuts. Nuts. Literal
I think
to a T.
I think something like that probably locks him in as comeback player of the year at the moment, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
If he hadn't lost, as probably, it's. I mean, he. It sounds horrible, but Parker wiped the floor with him. It was bad.
They were calling it an ace whooping.
He got so many steals because I think he ended up going multiple choice on all of his Harry Potter questions.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, like he's gonna steal all of these.
I know.
Yeah.
And Parker, didn't Parker spin Middle Earth? And now, and we all know.
Yeah.
That's like,
we know now. We know now.
But to go from that, I mean, that's the lowest of low. People were like, done.
He's never coming back from this.
He was Winston's 10th pick. 10th pick.
Yeah, that's something we haven't talked about. He was the last pick, and he's now the Star Wars at the moment, the number one contender, and he's 4-0.
And has almost half, if not more, of their points.
Yeah.
He's literally their team. He has more points than almost half of, maybe even more than half of 12. The team.
12 points. Right? 12?
I'm so glad he did come back too, because Christian has said this before, some players, if you get knocked out as bad as he did with Parker, you may not want to come back after that. But he did the opposite.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's a great story.
And he's just I was at his first match, and I'm so bummed that I didn't get to sit down and actually talk with him. We had a 30-second conversation, but in those 30 seconds, sweetest dude you could ever meet, super humble to be there. He's so fun to watch. He just wants to play. And it's so exciting watching him go from a position where I don't know if I could come back from that, getting knocked out in Inner Geekdom, to going 4-0 in arguably the hardest division in Schmoedown. Comeback player of the year, number one. And also, this is also contender for match of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah. I loved watching him
there's that,
on Force Center.
I love when he does his promos and it goes from English and then spits fire in Spanish. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying, but yes.
But keep saying it.
I love that he coined the term upset city. I think it's brilliant. It's so good. Upset city ace. It's so good.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, I remember this was even before he played Laura when he said his promo and she's like, only refer to me now in Spanish like Ace just did. And before the match. And I'm like, it's just like, oh God. And you just can't help but love him just because he was so, every time I'm doing this for my faction mates, I'm doing it for wins. Never once did he say I'm doing it to prove myself. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for, it was every single time. It was, I'm doing it for my faction. I'm doing it for Winston. I'm doing it for us. And right at the end of the match, the first thing he did was congratulate Dimalanta on how well he played throughout the whole entire tournament. He is the type of person you want to see in the league because he's someone you want people to watch. And he's a good example of what a player should be.
Hands down.
Yeah. I always say that, like, you gotta go into this with like a little bit of fun, a little bit of like sway. If you go
swag,
in, a little bit of swag. It just you have to try to at least have a little fun with it, or else when you lose, it just hits you so hard.
Yeah.
BC, to your point here, yes, I do, but I don't think he should this year. No. I think he should solely focus on what's ahead of him. Obviously, he's going to be facing Alex Damon at Spectacular, which is just going to be a barn burner after what he's shown in this tournament. It's going to be really, really fun to see. Let's talk about Dimalanta here for a second because we haven't talked about him a lot, obviously because Ace is the winner here. There is nothing to hang your head about if you're Andrew Dimalanta. I mean, what he proved. I mean, obviously he had always said, right? He's always been studying and preparing for Alex. He had been studying and preparing for Alex the entire time. And if he does that, he's going to get through everybody. That didn't work out in the way he wanted it to, but he had proven that he changed his demeanor as a player and kind of just upped his ante as a player, whether we like the intensity or just the cocky confidence that exuberates from him sometimes. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that he's going to be around this division for a long time and that he should be feared for a very long time. And Christian revealed that whatever happens at Spectacular, if Ace wins, he gets the first, or Alex will get a rematch with Ace, and then Dimalanta will get that shot as a number one contender. But if Alex wins, Dimalanta goes straight into a number one contender spot up against Alex. So he's going to be there no matter what. It's just a matter of when. Mm-hmm. And so whether or not he takes a break, I'm not sure, but this is going to light even bigger fire under him. And so I'm very interested to see what happens when he does come back, when that is.
Yeah, I hope he learns to meditate and just kind of like bring the intensity level down a notch. But he destroyed in this tournament. I mean, he wiped the floor with me. So
no, he didn't wipe the floor.
I wouldn't go that far.
But yeah, he's so determined, and he will absolutely be there to eventually play Alex or Ace. Alex, let's be honest.
He'll get his title shot at some point. It's in the near future. It's going to be very interesting because we're either going to see Dimalanta from yesterday or we're going to see Dimalanta from Scrimshaw. There's two versions of him. He's just that type of player. There's no in between with him. Mm-hmm. And it all depends on what his opponent is like that day. So, but I'm excited to see it. I mean, he's different than everybody else in the league. There's no one like him. And so having him on screen is always fun because everybody he plays is so vastly different from him, right? Scrimshaw, very different. Mollie, very different. Ace, very different. Seeing new Laura, seeing new Laura against Dimalanta would be interesting, but it's just fun to see him because he's such a unique player in the division.
I'd love to see the two of them play again.
Yeah, that rematch needs to happen. It needs to happen at some point.
Yeah.
I would watch any of these players play anyone because each one is going to be so unique in how it's played and the interactions between. Dimalanta, I mean, he came in fighting for his reputation and his namesake. This is
already.
We shall see.
Interesting. So he came in to put some respect back on his name.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone doesn't respect the player he is now because he is now feared. He is someone you don't want to go up against. This is the only league where you can have a losing record and still be the best.
Yep.
And it's
what is his record? Is it 2-3?
It's 2-3 now.
Now it's 2 losses, 3 wins now. No,
Got it.
no. He lost. Yeah.
Wasn't he? Oh, he was 0-2 going into it, right?
2-2. He was 0-2 going into it. 2-2.
2-3. 2-3.
Yeah.
But you could have someone in this league that's like the names are going to be good for this, but
that's going to be the promo for the belt match.
I need
Nerd Chronic, if you're watching, there you go.
I need shirts of all of these things.
Yes,
I just
absolutely. You could say, how many of these? How many competitors have losing records in Star Wars, and you would never want to go up against them? I'm pretty sure Laura is either level or
Laura is 2-2, I believe.
2, yeah.
I think she's 2-2. Yes.
Yeah. So, but are you ever going to want to go against Laura? Absolutely freaking not.
I mean, everyone wanted the two of us to play, and I was like,
I know.
I'm scared.
It's just Star Wars is a whole different monster. Your records don't mean Jack Fooey in Star Wars division.
And I said that at the beginning of this tournament, that people were not counting Dimalanta because he was 0-2. And I said, he is not the person you want to count out. He is hungry. He is determined to win this. But because he had that 0-2 record, it was automatically, you haven't won yet, so we're not even going to worry about you. Look what happened.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that first match with Scrimshaw set the stage. And maybe that's not such a great thing because then everyone was like, oh, all these games are going to go perfect. Or at least all of his games.
Competitors are human. What can I say? They're not all robots.
I am interested though, because this entire tournament, right? Dimalanta has been using the whole I was 0-2. Everyone counted me out. What happens now? Like, what's the drive for him now? Because there really isn't that chip anymore because he does have wins. He has proved himself.
I think there's still a chip.
I know that there will probably be a chip from the loss, right? But how does that affect his gameplay? Does that drive him more? Does that make him more hungry? It's going to be interesting to see like what type of player he does come back as, because we might not see him for a while. It might not be until next year. It might not be to the middle of next year. I mean, who knows when it'll be? So he has quite a bit of time, and at that point, he may not even be on the FinSock exchange. So what happens at that point as a player? Does he stay the same, or does he kind of shift gears like a Paulo Yama did, right? Dungeon to oh my God, why am I blanking? Swag. There we go. So it'll be very interesting. Either way, it'll be very interesting. But he definitely proved himself, and it's definitely better for the league to have him in it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. I'll beat it to death. Records in Star Wars don't count because I just looked up. Scrimshaw's 1-3. Who wants to go against him? Not me.
Adam Witt is 0-2.
Yeah,
Witt's 0-2.
So I mean,
Witt's 0-2, and I'm sure he knew Dimalanta's 5 because he's obsessed with all those minor. I'm sure he was like, oh, it's 8d8. Like, Witt knows some crazy stuff, and he won a match, but. Dolte Delphine, that right there just shows how much this guy knows. Like,
all right, so Mr. Ace, go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna say, I don't think anyone could have imagined a better tournament at the end of the day. Like, I mean, no one saw this final coming, and it'll be a final that we talk about for years to come after. Years. Like, no, I don't care who you are. There's no one that, other than maybe Swag, that had this bracket at the end. But it's one of the best finals I've ever seen on both players.
Me too.
I want to go back to the 88 real quick, just for fun, I guess. But we were texting Ken during the match, and we were like, oh my gosh, like he has to know this. He has to know this. And then we were like, oh, he must not have had the toys because we knew it.
Sean, that's how Sean knew it. Sean's like, it's a toy. I remember having it as a kid and going, why is this a toy? But like,
we only knew it because of its toy. And it's funny because DragonCon trivia, there was a match that Alex lost on because the answer was Lin Me, and that guy only knew that because he had the toy. So buy the toys.
Study the toys, guys. Study the toys.
Yeah. You probably have to search far and wide to find an 88 toy. That's for sure.
I'm sure Adam Witt has one. He'll let you have it.
That's fair.
Like, yeah, here.
That's fair. Okay, so before we wrap things up, a few things that we can do to finish the show off real quick. Something that dropped today that we can touch on. I know it's not anything to do with the match, but Ken is a Star Wars competitor, obviously. We all said this on the show. I think we were all expecting it. It's the perfect fit. Ken's not going to compete in any divisions for the rest of the year, so it makes sense. He's managed before. And the faction at this point seems to fit Ken's managing style, so no brainer for me.
Yeah. I mean, as much as Brandon Hanna probably wanted it, I mean, Knapsack's pretty much managed corruption before, so why not kind of keep the ball rolling? But who knows? I want them to change their name to Knights of Ken.
Do it
really bad.
Yes.
Oh,
that'd be so good.
That's perfect.
It'd be so good.
It would be.
We get it, BC. We get it.
Yeah, Boobadrooks. But like, Knights. Oh God, I can only imagine what Brian Ward would make for a logo.
Who knows if that's actually happening?
Yes.
Oh
it
my
might
God,
very well be happening. So who knows? If not this year, then maybe next year.
Knights of Ken. Knights of Ken.
Yes. And Brian, if you're watching this, Knights of Ken.
Yeah, seriously.
So okay, final thing to wrap up the show here. Let's talk about the standings. And this isn't including the IG match from today. This is including the Star Wars match. And so Swag obviously gets a little bit of a lead there, getting 3 points. And just getting an inching closer to the Finstock Exchange. Unfortunately for them, Barbarian takes the victory up against Mr. John Humphrey. So they got 4 points from that match, putting them at 29. So they have a 7-point lead over everybody else at the moment. Right. But hey, like without Ace and without the last couple weeks, Swag would probably be somewhere around Corruption's points. And so bravo, because right now it really does seem like a two-headed race with the IG tournament left to go.
Do you realize that if Ace was his own team, he'd be in 4th place right now?
That's wild.
Literally, Ace by himself would be in 4th place. That's insane.
Yeah, that's just from playing so many games. I know Alex was like, I'm jealous that everyone's getting to play games and like this thing's happening every week. And like he's like, I want to play.
Well, he gets his chance because his match is tomorrow.
His match is
Damon
tomorrow.
versus Mr. Hanna.
I'm so excited to watch that match.
Yeah,
so excited.
I know. Yes. Heavy that wears the crown that you just get to sit there and watch, but you don't get to have the fun of going out there and playing. That would actually probably drive me crazy.
I know. No Star Wars matches for you.
Yes, Samir. Yes, Samir. 100% on this one. One of the best to ever do it. Okay, any final thoughts on the final Star Wars tournament match that we will get this year?
I'm so sad. Star Wars
deep breaths.
It's just, oh man.
I know. I would like Scrimshaw said. I want a losers bracket.
Yes, next year. Losers bracket.
With the small group of players, it's definitely possible.
The writers are literally screaming, "No!"
I know.
I know. Well, yes, and I know that.
No.
I know that it's done so well live on Twitch, but you could definitely do it like the Inner Geek Team is doing, where there's 2 a week.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure PJ would hate us for suggesting it. But also, shout out to PJ and the writing team. I said this on Twitter, but without them, we wouldn't have had this tournament, and it was so good and so much fun. So extra shout out to PJ and the writing team.
Yeah, I thought the questions in this match were like right on point, right on par. I liked all the questions that were asked.
Me too.
Yeah.
There were some easy ones and some that were ones that made you double guess and think again. And it was, as you can see, no one got a perfect game, and it was the right amount of
drama.
And I'm glad that there were no challenges.
Yes, thank goodness.
No,
well,
you can't challenge.
Almost one. Yeah, no more challenges.
Yeah,
none.
Really? But yeah, no, I'm so sad this tournament's done. At the end of, I don't know how
I have a feeling Christian's going to do whatever he can to get more players. That way he can make it as big as the IG tournament next year.
I agree.
Yeah.
And space them all out where they're in like each quarter, right? They're kind of all happening at different times. I think that would be brilliant for the league for sure.
They had 12,000 people watching on Twitch, and I feel like when they get to the singles tournament, like regular movie trivia, people, like even more people are going to watch, and I'm so excited to see
it's going to be so fun.
It grow.
This whole quarantine thing was the best thing for the Star Wars division.
Yeah,
because
best thing for the Schmoedown. Best thing because absolutely. They would have never found this without it.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. But like for a division that Star Wars was like a couple matches a year and whatever. Yeah, maybe that was fine. It has now made people like Star Wars is freaking dope division to watch.
Because for a little while people were like, do we keep doing Star Wars as its own thing and having its own belt?
That's a conversation every year with people. Should we have this league? It's like
they had it today on SEN. They had it today. They had it today on SEN on whether or not the Star Wars division should continue on. But then it's like, look what just happened.
Not continue on.
And it's got the coolest belt. So
yes,
just saying.
Yes, I would 100% agree with that.
Pretty dope belt.
So, Mollie knows her
I carried it around for a bit at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, and I was like, this feels good.
Yeah.
This will be mine one day. It will be back here.
Yeah.
To your point, Brian, we are going to be doing some stuff for the teams tournament as well as the singles tournament. So stay tuned on that. And then to this one, look out on Sunday on the main show. We will be talking about that on the main show as far as tournaments and genres, stuff that we could possibly see in the future now that the Star Wars tournament's over. So look out for that. But for now, I think our final breakdown is officially over. I think we're going to be wrapped up until next year, or at least until Spectacular, maybe. There it is. Mollie, thank you so much for joining us. This was fun. A perfect match to join. Obviously, some craziness ensued. And to everyone watching and commenting, thank you so much for joining us and talking this match with us, because it was definitely a big one. So for the crew here, a certain point of view, thank you so much for joining us. Brian, Jill, and myself, Mollie, as usual, thank you for joining us. And main show, guys, every single Sunday, live, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And as we've mentioned a couple times this week, we have someone new joining us. So join us on Sunday night as we'll be revealing our new co-host on the channel, someone who's going to be a part of reactions in the show. And we are very, very excited. And BC, you're not going to tell us? No,
you're going to wait till Sunday and you're going to like it.
We're doing it Sunday. We are doing it Sunday. So check it out on Sunday. We just want to tease you guys a little bit more, dangle the carrot even more so. And see, there we go. There we go. Question mark. There we go. See, everyone's wondering. We're doing it good, guys. We're doing it good. Yes. But yeah, so until Sunday, we will see you guys all then. So thank you very much for joining us.
Bye.